It's funny how often you hear people comparing uh, raising kids to tending a garden.
Right.
You've sent so many messages and articles about this, so we're going to take a deep dive today
Yeah.
to see if the comparison is just a cute saying or if it's something more.
Hmm.
Like, is raising tiny humans really like nurturing leafy greens?
Well, it's a question that's intrigued philosophers and scientists for centuries.
Really?
And what's fascinating is that while on the surface they might seem worlds apart,
Yeah.
there really are some surprising parallels when you look a little closer.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Yeah.
One thing that jumped out at me from the research is this idea of daily care. Like
Yeah.
both kids and plants just demand so much attention.
Yeah.
Like one article even told this story about a toddler who wouldn't go to bed without hearing the same 3 bedtime stories
Wow.
every single night.
Yeah.
The same ones
Yeah.
over and over again.
It's funny because that reminds me of a study I read that found that specific plant species only thrive when they get like a precise amount of water at very specific times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it kind of highlights this fundamental principle.
Okay.
That's true in both parenting and gardening.
Okay.
Responsiveness to their individual needs.
So it's not just about, going through the motions.
Right.
It's about really observing and understanding what each individual kid or plant really needs
Exactly.
to thrive.
Yeah, and recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
Just like some plants need shade while others need sun.
Mm-hmm.
Each child has their own temperament, their own learning style,
Mm-hmm.
their own emotional needs.
This makes me think about the whole patience aspect
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
waiting for things to grow at their own pace.
Yeah.
One source told a story about this gardener who waited years
Oh, wow.
for his lemon tree to produce fruit.
Oh, that's a classic example.
Yeah.
And it's so relevant to parenting, especially today, because it's like instant gratification everywhere.
Right.
We're just bombarded with these messages that everything should be quick and easy.
Right.
But gardening and parenting both teach us the value of slowing down,
Mm-hmm.
embracing the slow and often messy process of growth.
Which honestly can be really frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's not always smooth sailing.
Right.
Kids and plants can throw us some curveballs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like one source compared dealing with a toddler's tantrum to battling a sudden aphid infestation
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
in your garden.
Yeah, those unexpected challenges that force us to adapt
Right.
and think on our feet.
Yeah.
Like a frost can wipe out your tomato crop,
Right.
just like a stomach bug can derail your family outing.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that we're not in total control.
Yeah.
We have to be flexible,
Right.
resourceful.
Okay. That actually makes me feel a little bit better
Yeah,
about some of my parenting fails.
sure.
But it also makes me wonder about this whole idea of roots. Building a solid foundation.
Well, if we look at it through a developmental lens,
Okay.
a child's early experiences and the environment we create for them
Yeah.
have a huge impact
Mhm.
on their well-being.
Okay.
Just like a plant needs fertile soil and sunlight,
Yeah.
to thrive, a child needs a nurturing environment where they feel safe and loved and supported.
So are we talking about like consistent routines and boundaries?
Absolutely.
Because I know that's always a hot topic in parenting.
Yeah. Research has shown that consistent routines, especially around bedtime
Uh-huh.
and meal times, can significantly reduce stress and anxiety
Oh, wow.
in young children.
Okay.
And just like some plants need pruning
Uh-huh.
to encourage healthy growth,
Okay.
children need clear boundaries and expectations
Right.
to help them develop self-control and a sense of responsibility.
So even something as simple as a consistent bedtime routine
Mm-hmm.
can have a big impact.
It really can.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
And it highlights that these seemingly small actions are all connected.
Okay.
Just like a gardener carefully chooses the right fertilizer
Yeah?
and the watering schedule,
Mm-hmm.
parents can make intentional choices about the environment and experiences they provide,
Yeah.
knowing that these choices will have a big impact over time.
But let's be real. Even with the best intentions,
Yeah.
things don't always go according to plan.
Right.
Like you can provide all the right conditions, but there's still that element of chance, of things that are just beyond our control.
And that's where the parallels between parenting and gardening
Okay.
become even more compelling,
Okay.
because just like a gardener can't prevent every pest or weed,
Right.
parents can't shield their kids from every disappointment or hardship in life.
So it's not about creating this perfect bubble.
Right.
It's more about equipping them with the tools they need
Exactly.
to navigate the challenges.
And that's where resilience comes in. Just like some plants have developed adaptations to withstand drought or extreme temperatures,
Right.
children can develop resilience through facing and overcoming challenges.
So we're saying that allowing kids to struggle a little bit can be a good thing.
It's not about intentionally putting them in difficult situations, but providing the right kind of support
Okay.
so they can learn to problem solve, cope with setbacks, and bounce back from adversity.
So it's like giving them the tools to become their own little gardeners.
I like that.
Yeah,
Oh.
tending to their own little internal gardens.
Yeah, that's great.
But I'm also curious about the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
We've talked about nurturing, but what about neglect?
Right.
Because the sources were pretty clear that the consequences are pretty stark
Yeah.
in both gardening and parenting.
That's a crucial point,
Yeah.
and one that brings up ethical considerations.
Right.
Just as a plant will wilt and die without proper care, a child's physical, emotional, and cognitive development can be severely stunted by neglect.
It's a sobering reminder that we have a responsibility
Right.
to provide for the basic needs of those in our care,
Yeah.
whether they be plants or children.
And it goes beyond just meeting those basic needs.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where they can flourish,
Right.
where they feel safe, loved, and supported
Yeah.
to reach their full potential.
Okay.
Neglect in both gardening and parenting
Uh-huh.
represents a failure to fulfill that responsibility.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Food for thought for sure.
for sure. And that brings us to this interesting idea of guidance versus independence, knowing when to step in and when to step back.
Right.
Both the parenting and the gardening sources kind of touched on this.
Yeah. It's like that classic dilemma, wanting to protect them,
Right.
but also knowing they need space to grow.
Mm-hmm.
One article used the analogy of pruning a plant.
Okay.
Like you're shaping its growth,
Yeah,
but you're not dictating every single leaf and branch.
that's a great visual. Because it really highlights that both parenting and gardening involve this delicate dance between providing support and fostering independence. We can offer guidance,
Right.
set boundaries, create a nurturing environment,
Right.
but ultimately we have to allow them that freedom
Yeah.
to explore, experiment, and even make mistakes.
So finding that sweet spot,
Right.
where we're providing enough structure and support,
Yeah,
but not stifling their natural curiosity and desire to learn.
exactly. And that sweet spot is different for every child.
Right.
Just like every plant species has its own unique needs.
Right.
Some plants thrive when they're left to sprawl freely,
Uh-huh.
while others need regular pruning to stay healthy.
So how do we know when to step in and when to let go?
That's where careful observation comes in. In gardening, you might notice a plant is starting to wilt or become overcrowded.
Okay.
And that kind of signals that it's time to prune or repot. And similarly, with parenting, we can look for signs of stress, frustration, or disengagement
Okay.
that might tell us they need more support or guidance.
So it's being attuned to their needs,
Yeah.
both spoken and unspoken,
Exactly.
and being willing to adjust our approach as they grow and change.
Absolutely. Both parenting and gardening require this constant process of observation, experimentation, and adaptation.
Right.
There's no fixed formula,
Yeah.
no one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
It's about being responsive to the needs of each child, each plant,
Right.
and recognizing that those needs will evolve over time.
Okay, this makes me think about the whole nature versus nurture debate.
Yeah.
How much is determined by their genes
Mm-hmm.
and how much is influenced by their environment and experiences?
That's a question that's fascinated scientists and philosophers for centuries.
Right.
And there's no easy answer. But the gardening analogy, I think, can give us some insight.
Okay.
A gardener can't change a plant's genetic makeup,
Right.
and parents can't completely control a child's temperament.
Okay. Or personality traits.
So you're saying we're not working with a blank slate.
Right.
There are some predispositions that are already in place.
Exactly. But just like a gardener can influence a plant's growth and development
Mm-hmm.
by providing the right soil, nutrients, and sunlight,
Right.
parents can create an environment that nurtures a child's strengths
Okay.
and helps them manage their challenges.
So it's not about changing who they are,
Right.
but helping them become the best version of themselves.
Precisely. And that's where the gardening metaphor can be so empowering.
Okay.
It reminds us that we have a role to play, that we can make a difference.
Yeah.
But it also encourages us to accept and appreciate the uniqueness of each individual.
Okay.
Just like a gardener appreciates all the different plants in their garden.
One of the most striking parallels I've noticed is how both parenting and gardening seem to instill this sense of responsibility in the caregiver, it's not just about keeping a plant alive.
Or a child fed and clothed.
Right.
It's something more profound.
You're absolutely right. It's about recognizing that we're entrusted with the well-being of another living being, and that our actions directly impact their growth and development.
It's like we're stewards of their potential.
Yeah.
Guiding them toward a flourishing future.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that both parenting and gardening are acts of service, of nurturing, of contributing to something larger than ourselves.
And it's not just about the recipient of that care either, right? Like both pursuits seem to transform the caregiver.
Oh, absolutely. Both parenting and gardening cultivate patience, resilience, creativity, a deep sense of connection to the natural world.
Yeah.
They teach us to appreciate the beauty of slow growth, to find joy in the simple things, and to embrace the cycles of life and death.
It's like they're mirrors reflecting back to us our own strengths.
Yeah.
And our areas for growth.
And they both require a certain level of surrender. Of letting go of control and trusting the process.
Which can be really hard.
Yeah.
Especially in a world that values speed and efficiency and instant results.
It's true, but I think that's why both parenting and gardening are so valuable.
Okay.
They offer like an antidote to the crazy pace of modern life, inviting us to slow down, connect with nature, and appreciate the beauty of unfolding potential.
You know, as we've been exploring these parallels, one question keeps popping into my head.
Okay.
It's about the impact of outside influences.
Okay.
How do we deal with the weeds and the pests that can disrupt our carefully cultivated gardens?
Right.
Literally and metaphorically.
That's the question every gardener and parent grapples with.
Right.
We can create the most nurturing environment, but we can't shield them completely from the world.
Right.
And its challenges.
It's like you can fertilize the soil and prune away the dead branches.
Yeah.
But you can't control the weather.
Right.
Or prevent a swarm of locusts from descending on your crops.
Exactly. And that's where the gardening metaphor offers some really valuable insights.
Okay.
Like a good gardener knows they can't eliminate all risks.
Right.
But they can take steps to minimize the impact.
Okay.
They choose hardy plant varieties. They cultivate healthy soil.
Okay.
And they use natural methods to deter pests.
So it's about creating that strong foundation, building resilience, and equipping them with the tools to navigate the challenges.
Precisely. And that's where the parallels with parenting become even more clear.
Okay.
We can't prevent our children from encountering negative influences.
Right.
But we can teach them critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Help them develop a strong sense of self-worth. And surround them with positive role models and supportive communities.
So it's not about building an impenetrable fortress. It's about giving them the tools and resources to make good choices.
Yes.
Navigate the world.
And just as a gardener might introduce beneficial insects to control pests, we can surround our children with positive influences that will help them grow.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's about creating that diverse ecosystem where the good outweighs the bad.
Exactly.
But let's be real. Even with all the best intentions and planning, sometimes things just don't go the way we expect.
Of course.
Plants wither, kids rebel, life throws us curveballs.
Right.
How do we deal with those moments of disappointment, those feelings of failure, when our gardens don't live up to our expectations?
Well, that's where the gardening metaphor offers another profound lesson. The importance of acceptance.
Acceptance of our own limitations.
Yeah.
The unpredictable nature of life.
All of the above.
Okay.
A good gardener knows that not every seed will germinate. That not every plant will thrive.
Right.
That there will be seasons of abundance and seasons of scarcity. And they learn to accept these cycles as part of the natural order.
So it's letting go of that need for perfection, recognizing that growth isn't always linear.
Right.
And embracing those ups and downs of the journey.
Exactly. And that same mindset can be so liberating for parents.
Okay.
We can try to create the best environment, but we have to accept that we can't control every outcome.
We can't prevent them from making mistakes, from experiencing heartache, from facing those challenges.
Yeah, and those challenges, those moments of struggle are often the catalysts for the most growth.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. And just like a gardener might compost the remains of a dead plant to enrich the soil for future growth, We can help our children learn and grow from their mistakes,
Okay.
their disappointments,
Yeah.
their moments of adversity.
So it's about reframing failure
Mm.
as an opportunity for learning and resilience.
Yeah.
And ultimately growth.
Precisely. And that shift in perspective can be really empowering
Right.
for both parents and for children.
As we've been talking,
Yeah.
one thing that's really struck me
Okay.
is how both parenting and gardening seem to cultivate a sense of gratitude.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you witness a tiny seed sprout into a plant or watch a child blossom into their own unique person, it just fills you with this sense of awe
Yeah.
and wonder.
It makes you appreciate the miracle of life, the interconnectedness of it all, and the sheer beauty of growth, no matter how small.
And it fosters a sense of humility, too, reminding us we're not in complete control, that we're part of something much larger than ourselves.
Which is a good reminder, especially in a world that so often values individualism.
Yeah.
Self-reliance above all else.
Yeah. Yes. Both parenting and gardening teach us the importance of interdependence, of recognizing that we're all connected.
Right.
Our actions have these ripple effects. Our well-being is linked to the well-being of others and the planet as a whole.
I think that's one of the most profound takeaways from this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
It was this sense of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
This recognition that we're all part of a larger ecosystem.
Right.
This web of life. And our actions, no matter how small, have the power to create positive change.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about shifting our perspective.
Okay.
From me to we. From individual gain to collective well-being.
Right.
From short-term gratification to long-term sustainability.
And that's a message that resonates with me, both as a parent and as a human being. It gives me hope that even when things feel really daunting, we can create a more just and compassionate and sustainable world for ourselves and future generations.
Absolutely.
All this talk about interconnectedness and creating positive change, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
But also feels kind of overwhelming.
Right.
Like, where do we even begin?
Yeah.
Especially with parenting. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture.
You've hit on a really common struggle for parents.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get bogged down that we forget to appreciate the beauty of the garden we're cultivating.
So how do we do that? How do we find that balance between the day-to-day stuff and nurturing that long-term vision?
Well, one approach is to borrow a technique from gardening. Mindful observation. Gardeners, they spend a lot of time just observing their plants. Noticing little changes, in growth patterns or color. Or even like the presence of beneficial insects. They're attuned to the nuances of the ecosystem. And they're constantly gathering information that helps them make decisions.
So you're saying if we apply that same principle to parenting, we might notice things we'd otherwise miss.
Exactly. Instead of rushing through those daily routines, what if we paused and really observed our children? Not just their behavior, but their moods, their energy levels, their unspoken needs. What are they drawn to? What are they struggling with? What brings them joy?
It's like we become these anthropologists studying this little tribe we call our family.
I love that analogy. Because it highlights the importance of curiosity. Approaching parenting as an ongoing process of discovery, not a task to be completed.
This makes me think about all those little moments we tend to rush through or dismiss as insignificant. Bedtime stories, playground conversations, even just quiet moments together. What if those are actually full of meaning and opportunities to connect?
That's a beautiful insight. And it brings to mind another parallel from gardening, the importance of savoring the harvest. A gardener doesn't just plant a seed and wait. They enjoy every stage. The first sprouts, the blooms, the ripening colors. They appreciate the whole journey, not just the end result.
So are you saying we as parents should savor those small moments?
Absolutely. Those everyday miracles, even amidst the chaos of family life.
It's about shifting our focus from achieving those milestones, to appreciating the process.
Exactly.
From controlling outcomes to embracing the present moment.
And recognizing that those small moments, the bedtime stories, the laughs at dinner, listening to their worries and dreams, those are the seeds of connection that nourish them.
Okay.
For a lifetime.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
It really makes you realize that parenting, like gardening, is about so much more than just the technical stuff. It's about cultivating love and connection and a sense of wonder.
And it's about recognizing that just as a garden thrives on diversity, a family flourishes when everyone feels seen and heard and valued.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the beauty and the complexity of both parenting and gardening. It's made me realize that they're not just activities, they're like philosophies, ways of approaching life with intention and curiosity and a deep respect for all things.
And maybe most importantly, they're both journeys of continuous learning and growth for both the caregiver and the receiver.
So to all our listeners out there, whether you have a green thumb or a house full of tiny humans, remember to embrace the mass. Savor those little moments. And trust the process.
And never underestimate the power of love, patience, and sunshine.
I love it.
To help your garden thrive.
This has been The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.